us the karakia, please.
Colleagues, guests and staff, please be upstanding. Let us forget with reverence the holy presence of God. Mighty God, we ask that you give us wisdom in the decisions we make here today and give us guidance in working with our regional communities to promote their social, economic, environmental and cultural well-being. Amen.
Firstly, our apologies. We have an apology from Chairman Leader, and I don't believe we have any other apologies noted for the meeting. So could I have a mover and a seconder to accept the apologies? Thank you, Councillor Thurston, Councillor Winters. We have no public, well, beg your pardon.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just that I have to leave early at 12:30. So.
Madam Chair, Setaru here. I will have to leave early as well. I've got unfortunately a clash of meetings. Sorry about that.
Certainly, that's fine. Thanks. We have no public forum speakers, and there are no new items to be added to the agenda and no changes to the order of business. So are there any conflicts of interest relating to any items in the agenda from councillors? Is not. And we have, at this stage, no public excluded businesses to be transferred into the open. So we'll just deal with the minutes and then we'll welcome our guests. We have the Regional Council minutes of 8th of May. Are there any amendments or matters arising? If not, could I have a mover and seconder? Thank you, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Macmillan. The Regional Council minutes of the 14th of May, any amendments to those minutes or matters arising? If not, a mover and a seconder for those. Thank you, Councillor Campbell and Councillor Crosby. And we do have the Extraordinary Regional Council minutes of 26th of May 2025. Any amendments, councillors, or matters arising? Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Winters, Councillor von Dardelson. And I just want to note that if any of the resolutions from those minutes are rescinded today as part of item 10.9, Lake Tarawera Sewage Scheme, notes to that effect will be added to those minutes. Okay. So now it's a great pleasure to welcome our delegation from...
Madam Chair, can I just confirm on page 17 in the minutes, we did ask, it was to do with the navigation and safety bylaws we talked about to our harbour master with. I think it should be noted that he's acted on our request to ban ships travelling between Motiti Island and Astrolabe Reef, and that has been actioned. I think that was, and I think it should be confirmed in the minutes that he has done that because it was passed in the 8th of May resolution that we do that. I think that's just a follow-up to that.
Thank you. Can we add that as matter arising, please? Thanks. So back to our guests. It's a great pleasure to have Chief Executive Melanie Short and Paul Ingram, a board president, but I see we've got more people with you. So would you mind doing the introductions to your team, and the floor is yours. Thanks.
Atamarie, ko Melanie toku whenua, no Rotorua aho, ke Rotorua Business Chamber I Mahiana, nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. I'd love to introduce my board to you. Online we have Brent Wibley and Jackie James, and here in person I have Brett Wilson, Denise Emery, Michelle Urquhart, and our board president Paul Ingram. So all here supporting. We're really delighted to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you and to present to you our refreshed vision for Rotorua. So questions are welcome. That's why the board are here to help support. I've been in this role since the start of April, and it's been an amazing few months so far, and it's really a privilege to be here representing Rotorua. So thank you very much. So if we just start, this vision was refreshed recently off the back of some work that had been done. A lot of work had been done during the LTP process with both regional and local council. So this is our refreshed vision. So first up, I'd just really like to highlight the natural advantages that Rotorua has. Obviously, Rotorua, we know this very well, Rotorua does stand out as a place of natural beauty and innovation and cultural depth. So these attributes, we believe, are a key part of our economic and community identity. We also have the pristine lakes, we have the world-class mountain biking, which I hope you all enjoy regularly. I know Councillor Winters does. We have our geothermal advantage, and as well as our bioeconomy leadership with Scion being in the region as well. We have, we believe we've got world-class assets in Rotorua, along with our forestry innovation. We have a very rich and strong Māori culture, along with our 150 years of manaakitanga. We are centrally located and geographically resilient. So we believe that means being a well-connected hub, utilising the natural advantages for business continuity and distribution. And of course, we're well known and renowned for our events and a very popular conference destination. We have 4 key elements that we want to introduce to you today. And these key elements are what the board and myself and my team will be reflecting on as we make decisions as we go through the next 12 to 18 months. Our first one is about being economically driven with a social conscience. What this means for us is to be having a balanced approach to growth. So we seek, as a chamber and as a city, we seek economic growth that uplifts the whole community. We believe that economic success is the foundation of social well-being and social outcomes. We want to foster a growth mindset at all levels. So that's talking about innovation, entrepreneurship, and of course, continuous improvement. And that's not just business, but that's across councils and our community. So how are we going to put this into action? So we want to make it low risk and easy to invest in Rotorua. We want to create some certainty for our investors and developers through clear pathways. So working closely with Rotorua Lakes Council, we want to ensure that those pathways are streamlined and that we are creating a business-friendly environment. We want to enable inclusive growth. So working to prioritise projects and policy that build equity, looking at workforce development, skills training, Māori enterprise support, along with affordable housing. We also want to ensure that we're aligning our economic planning with social outcomes. So this is fundamentally what we talk about when we say economically driven with a social conscience. And we also want to be going along this journey with partnerships so that we are co-designing initiatives and they are creating benefits for the whole area, the whole district. So in summary, the key element 1 is economically driven with a social conscience. We believe thriving businesses means more jobs, higher incomes, better services, and stronger community resilience. Key element 2 is Rotorua by design. So as already mentioned, our identity in Rotorua is deeply rooted in the historical environment, the cultural richness, and our historic legacy. So when we talk about Rotorua by design, it's not just the design principles, but the expressions of who we are and what we value. So in this area, in this key element, we're guided by 4 core design pillars. So first one is culture and heritage. So honouring our rich Māori heritage, including Te Arawa Iwi narrative through art, architecture, language and spatial design. So bringing into our environment, bringing meaning and mana to our built environment around place naming, storytelling and visible cultural references. Naturally, we would have to say wood first, We're a proud forestry and wood processing area, and we would really like to see the prioritisation of timber and the use of timber in public and private developments. We all know wood is sustainable and versatile, and we think that reflects our strengths in Rotorua as well. So looking at our geothermal and our health and spa aspects, this has been a key focus for Rotorua in the recent years. We believe we can further include geothermal in through our design and our built environment through natural materials, flowing forms, warm tones, and therapeutic motifs. So really enhance and reflect our unique standing in the geothermal landscape. And as I pointed out at the start, we also believe we should embrace our natural environment. So the lakes, the forests, our volcanic terrain, and our open skies that define Rotorua. So very much so over the weekend, we saw that. We saw our lakes are humming, our forests are packed. We had beautiful weather, and this is what we really want to see reflecting Rotorua. So Rotorua by design means, in summary, that these aspects shape how we build, design, and represent our district, from civil infrastructure to business precincts. The next aspect is connectivity. Not just air connectivity, but all aspects of access in and out of Rotorua. So we want to be well connected to the rest of Aotearoa, to the world, but also within our own community. The priorities here are talking about air connectivity, our flights, our capacity and choice. Also, it's about strengthening our freight supply chain through efficient freight infrastructure. And we can touch on here, of course, the state highways. So road and warehouse networks must support our industry, and it must ensure that we have a direct line to our ports and other areas to ensure that we've got reliable access and we can get there with speed. Talking about our own community, we want to be a connected city. So this means investing in well-planned and multi-modal transport systems. So whether that's car, public transport, buses, by cycling or by foot. We want our access to be inclusive and safe and efficient for all of our residents and for our visitors, manahiri alike. We want to ensure that our visitors have the infrastructure that they need to ensure that when they come to visit in Rotorua, that they have facilities that meet their needs. So we would like to see flexible infrastructure that accommodates how people travel to Rotorua, whether they come with their camper vans, with the boats and trailers, and also including the EVs going forward. We would like to see facilities that meet those needs for tourism and recreation, but also for local use. So connectivity is very important to us at the Rotorua Business Chamber. We are talking about the opportunities that sit adjacent to many of our state highways, the greenfields, and we are really, this is one area that we will be focusing on quite keenly as we move forward into the next round of funding. The last key element is about having a vibrant city. So for us, this is all about ensuring that Rotorua is one of the most vibrant cities. It's inclusive, it's exciting, it's a great place to visit, and our locals feel very proud to live there. So we have Manaakitanga. Manaakitanga is at our heart. So we are a welcoming and safe city. We will continue to have deep respect for the culture, the history and the people, and that we do want to be known as a very hospitable, inclusive region or city to visit. We want to see a city that is alive all week round. So that talks to a 7-day retail environment, that talks to late night activity for our younger generation so that they can have the experiences that they are looking for. So night markets, events, nightlife, entertainment. And we want to have vibrant spaces and places to encourage that connection. We are looking for inner city lifestyle and living. So that means for us some high quality central living options that are walkable, connected and livable. We would like to have some essential amenities in our CBD, and we would like to create a space where people want to live as well as visit, or not just visit, but to stay and live. We want to continue on the pathway of being the destination for events and conferencing. We already have a very dynamic calendar of events throughout the year, and that's something that we're really proud of as a city. And we also are very proud of our past, but we want to be progressive for our future. So continue to weave the local history and storytelling, and ensuring that we reflect on those, the history, but at the same time, a city that is forward focused, future focused, and bold and constantly evolving. So in summary, for us, the key element 4 is about being a vibrant city. That's a city that is alive all week, that is Manaakitanga at heart. We are an inner city lifestyle destination, continued with events and conferencing, and proud of our past and progressive about our future. So in summary, and obviously questions are very welcome, our 4 key elements are: we are an economically driven city with a social conscience, Rotorua by design, connectivity, and a vibrant city.
Well, thank you very much for that very impressive and compelling vision. So I'll just pass it over to councillors. Councillor Thurston.
Melanie and Paul, thanks for coming and bringing such a large delegation from Rotorua. But first off to you, Michelle, I think it's appropriate in this room to acknowledge your dad, because he was a long-standing councillor of the Regional Council and made a major contribution on behalf of Rotorua to this entity. So thinking of Bill today.
So am I.
I know. But no, I can say that we really value our good working relationship with the Chamber. And I always recalled whenever you travelled in the Far East and beyond, invariably if you went into a community, the first person of any status you met was the President of the Chamber of Commerce. So then the Mayor was a long way down the pecking order, Kevin. So, but no, but no, we really do publicly value our close working relationship with the Chamber, and the meetings that we have that are informal, and the issues that we raise. It's of great value to us. Thanks for sharing your vision for Rotorua and the 4 key elements. But I know colleagues will have other questions to ask, but I'd just welcome you in this forum to just give us an update on the frequency with regards to the Rotorua Airport, because the flights in and out are less than perfect at the moment for both tourism and business. So I imagine you're working tirelessly on this, but if you could make it just a brief comment on the work going on behind the scenes to try and recapture that frequency in and out of the city. But welcome, thanks for coming.
Councillor Thurston. So we have been working closely with both the Rotorua Airport and with Air New Zealand. And recently you'll know that we hosted in Rotorua Trends, which was a significant undertaking, a very successful event. At that time we met with both, Paul and I met with Greg Foran and with Kiri Hannafin, the Sustainability Officer, as well as some of their team on the ground. We we know that Greg and Kitty had quite a few meetings in Rotorua that day. So Paul and I chose to take the approach that we weren't going to hammer home the stats around the lack of service in Rotorua, but we took a more partnership approach by saying that our businesses need to see a plan. And unless we have a plan, it's very difficult to get the businesses alongside to support. So that was the key message that they took home. And in fact, Greg did undertake to come back to Rotorua before he finished in office. And we will hold him to that, although time is quickly running out of time. But second to that, we've been working closely with Nicole Brewer, who's the CE at the Rotorua Airport. In fact, she presented alongside myself and Rotorua Lakes Council CEO Andrew Moraes. She gave a really good presentation around I think the why. Why is this happening to Rotorua? There's lots of factors, but more importantly, she gave us some insight as to what we can do as a business community to ensure that Air New Zealand are understanding the challenges that we're facing by lack of flights, lack of connectivity, lack of capacity, and I guess the opposite is too many cancellations. Not always airplanes' faults, but the weather. And one of those key things was to ensure that as we are flying for business, to ensure that we are connecting our business information with this is simple, but with our business airpoints. Because if we end up flying out of Hamilton or Auckland or Tauranga and we have a Rotorua address, that's one way that they can start tracking. So it was a really simple but effective approach for Nicole to bring to the business community in a way that we can continue to support her. And she's very open to hearing the stories about the frustrations and the extra costs and the overnight stays that we now need to endure to have a meeting in Wellington or Christchurch.
Great, thank you. We've got questions from Councillor McMillan, Councillor White, Councillor Crosby, and then Councillor Winters. So Councillor McMillan.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Really exciting to hear you step us through this. I think it's the most progressive and visionary presentation I've ever heard from a Chamber of Commerce. So I've got two questions. One is, have you shared that with other chambers around the motu? Because I think it is really, there's so much clarity in it, and you can sort of really clearly see where you're heading as a sub-region. But my other question is, with this framing, are you finding there's sort of an uplift in morale and sort of business drive with your membership, because they can sort of see, oh yeah, this is what pumping and thriving looks like. So if we join this, or if we engage with this, we can sort of see our own small SME thriving. And how does that, how does the ripple effect of this impact your membership?
Guys can go.
Kia ora, councillors. Thank you very much for having us here this morning, and just to acknowledge Councillor Winters and Thurston and White for the engagement that we do get to have with you on a regular basis, informal as it is, but it is very worthwhile, gives us a lot of insight. So absolutely, that's one of the things we aspire to achieve out of this vision. It is our refreshed vision, and it's pretty new. It's only
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. It was first presentation last week. We had a vision before this, which we've sort of been promoting for around about 18 months, but it was a lot more abstract. We were really kind of trying to find that clarity. And initially it was driven around things like the LTP and really inspiring our local council to have some vision. And we believe we did that. We think we can see influence that occurred through the LTP for that. Obviously LTP's done. And now it was time to really look at this again and say, right, how do we sharpen this up? Make sure it does reflect our membership and business for Rotorua. And we know that it does. We recently conducted a survey of our members so that we've been able to refine this along with that sort of thing. It is, I think, probably a good platform to be able to share with some of the other chambers in due course. We want to make sure we get a good bang for the buck ourselves before we do that. So thank you.
Councillor White.
Kia ora, can you hear me? Kia ora, ngā mihi kia koutou. Thank you for the presentation. As a homeboy, Te Arawa born and bred, I always welcome hearing about our little city. Being Te Arawa, I'm very aware of the land ownership of Te Arawa and the ownership of various properties within the CBD, urban and rural sectors, and a significant presence around culture and the ownership of obviously Te Puia, New Zealand Māori Arts and Crafts Institute. So in the context of the socio-economic prosperity of Rotorua, Te Arawa do play a significant role, and will be obviously very happy to cooperate in that space. What level of involvement have you got in your chamber at the moment? I understand that Jeff Rice has left, and Jeff was quite an advocate for Te Arawa. Is there any other issues around that you're seeing coming from Te Arawa in the context of their involvement?
We've got Alex Wilson online, who's one of our board members who I didn't have the opportunity to introduce at the start. So Alex, would you like to respond to that question?
Kia ora, Councillor White.
Kia ora. Good to see
Lovely
you.
to meet everyone, and thanks for the opportunity, as being previously said. So probably just to answer your question, I'm sort of talking on behalf and sort of getting insights from a lot of our Te Arawa entities, including the likes of Te Puia, the Waiariki Spa, and a lot of our Ngāti Whakao entities in the sort of CBD. I suppose one of the things that the Chamber has done over preparing this vision and sort of refreshing the vision has engaged with the likes of the Ngāti Whakao Education Endowment Trust, Pukeroa Rōwhata Trust, and those that we think would need to come along on that particular journey. And they've been supportive of the vision and the direction, I suppose, that the presentation is heading to from the business community.
No, thank you for that. It's nice to see you on the chamber as well. So congratulations. You know, I raised my question because sort of 90% of the lands out of Rotoiti, Rotomā are owned by iwi. If you go to south, you've got the business park that's developing out there at Peka Peka, and they own quite a lot of forestry blocks as well as Ngāti Whakao and the urban centres. So I think, you know, and very keen, I think, to be involved in the socio-economic development of Rotorua, and I think will play a critical part. So good to hear, mate, Alex. So well done. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Councillor Crosby.
Morena, and thank you for the presentation. I've seen a lot of those over my time, and that was up there with one of the best from the Chamber of Commerce. It's quite unique, actually. You're sort of also heading into economic development territory, the whole gambit, so well done. My question is, bringing it to life is quite easy. It's not easy, but you can develop it. But how are you going to bring it to life, and how are you going to link it with the Rotorua development strategy, which I think is also very, very good?
Thank you, Councillor Crosby. So we have a good relationship with Rotorua Lakes Council. We also have a very good relationship with Rotorua New Zealand. So we see them as key drivers to making some things happen. So obviously, you're right. It's one thing to have a vision. What are the actions that come out of it? I think we did point to a couple of them in there. We also see a lot of things within the regional plan that have just been all submitted through to government. There's some good clarity and focus in there. And so we do see good alignment with some of those things, certainly around some of the roading projects, those sorts of things, and unlocking some of the opportunities. Councillor White's just referred to Peka Block. We see that as a real flagship. This is something that does need to happen for Rotorua. So we are very keen to engage more with NZTA. We did meet with them last week. We certainly would like to see ongoing and increased support from Regional Council to help Rotorua advance that project in particular, but we actually see about 5 projects that need to be done within a reasonable sort of a time frame, but that one would make some real difference to unlock some new opportunities for economic development and that industrial land, the connectivity. So those are the sorts of things. Now that we're sort of, we've got a nice concise vision, we can look for those opportunities to get in there and lobby. Obviously, one of the things we see ourselves doing is being a bit of a conduit or the glue, helping to join together some of these organisations, making sure that regional and local council have good relationship, good communication, and if we can assist in any of those ways, we're more than happy to do so.
Thank you. Councillor Winters, and then I see we have Councillor Von Dardelson, and was it Councillor Shirley?
Just covered my question.
Oh, great.
How to make it happen,
Okay, and then we better draw to a close after Councillor Scott. Thank you. Councillor Winters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Morning, team. Good to have you here, sharing your vision. I was there the other night when you presented Nicola's report on the airport connectivity. Andrew Moraes presented on the pre-election report for RDC. Madam Chair, and Melanie presented on this last week as well. So very good attendance, good vibe, and good to see your vision going forward. That was my question too. How do you make it happen? You people have a huge role to play in the future development of Rotorua, being the business people, and we need to make sure we are joined up as well with you to make sure we do what we say we can do, and you can push it from all the different angles, especially to NZTA. I mean, we've been left in the lurch in terms of our some of the infrastructure required for development going forward in the latest transport plan, and I think we need to call upon you people in the future to make sure we are there and we are singing from the same song sheet for future infrastructure, because at the moment there's not a lot happening in terms of roading projects going forward, which is whether it's our fault, RDC fault, but we're all dropped the ball, and I have to admit that. Melanie, I'm going to put on my maritime hat now and my Coast Guard hat, because I saw that slide that you put up of that jet skier on Lake Okeraka, and I know the person, but that person's actually in breach of our bylaws in terms of what they're doing on the lakes. I had to say it because I cannot allow that sort of thing to happen. It takes 3 to ski. And you make sure you get a better photo of somebody not breaking the bylaws of our navigation and safety bylaws when you are presenting on lakes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Noted, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winters. Councillor Von Dardelson.
Yeah, thank you. Fantastic presentation. And Rotorua has been always good at putting together very good growth strategies. And I think you've surpassed past achievements. My concern with Rotorua is, and I use the national electoral boundary changes as an example, where Rotorua is actually losing population and expected to lose about 5.5%. This is the electorate overall, not just the city, by 2029. And so I think you need to actually, you do need your tourism, and that's the thriving hub of your business. But when my councillor next to me talks about needing more roading and whatever, the base population is decreasing. Your electorate is actually encroaching upon Tauranga now. You've been at Te Puke and you're moving even further this way, just to get your numbers up so that you're a viable electorate. So do you have a strategy for actually getting, as well as thriving businesses, including tourism, forestry, whatever, of actually getting more of your population to at least stay in Rotorua rather than leave Rotorua?
Thank you, Councillor Von Dardelson. So the vision that we put together, one of the very first things that we talked about was making Rotorua a great place to come and play, but also work and stay. And our businesses ever since COVID, have been crying out for skilled staff. And one of the things that our businesses are telling us is that Rotorua hasn't got the houses, the infrastructure and the places to attract staff to come and work for them. And so part of our drive behind this vision was to address that. And that goes to your point, Councillor Vaughan Dardilson, that if we can improve our city as a place to stay and work, and we've got the employers with the jobs, then that's going to address the issue that you've raised for us.
Yeah, Councillor Scott.
Thank you once again for that presentation. It was very visionary. I was thinking, what is the intersection with what we do as the regional council? And I'm guessing pristine lakes, obviously a key thing, and honestly, sometimes not so pristine. So that's obviously something where we need to work together to make your vision achievable. Transport's been mentioned, and to make sure it makes some of those big projects make the land transport plan. Are there any issues with consenting that comes to mind that we could be helpful with? Is there any other intersection that you could, those are the things that I thought of while you're talking about. Is there anything else which is right in the swim lane of the regional council where we could make a difference?
Thank you. That's you're bang on the first couple there. And I certainly think so far as consenting goes, probably. But that is the sort of thing that we'd need to make sure that we've got some good collaboration with Rotorua Lakes Council, Rotorua New Zealand, so that whole opportunity for development and investment, that there is a fewer barriers as possible, those sorts of things. So that's certainly something that perhaps we would like to make sure that the parties are talking to each other about, but the chamber itself probably wouldn't have a role in the middle of that, except to say that would be an important part of attracting investment and development.
And your members may be raising issues, so it's a communication channel which may be useful.
Thank you, Melanie and Paul and your team for coming and talking to us today. You can see you've raised a lot of interest. So we look forward to potentially hearing from you again further along your journey. And we wish you a very safe journey home. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councillors, now we'll move to report 10.1, which is the chairperson's report. Are there any questions of the report?
Move.
Happy to move. Thank you, Councillor Winters. Councillor Vaughan Dardilson, did you have a question too, Councillor Vaughan Dardilson? No, well then I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Aye. Carried. So now we'll move on to 10.2, adoption of the annual plan, and invite Kamaran to come and talk to us regarding that. Thank you.
Atamari, Deputy Chair and Councillors. This report is seeking Council to adopt the annual plan 25-26 and fees and charges policy to come into effect 1 July 2025. The annual plan included as attachment 2 to the report presents the budget for year 2 of the LTP and reflects Council's directions from the series of workshops held up to this point in response to community concerns around rates affordability. This involved carrying out a comprehensive review of the budget, and the result of this has meant a reduction in the annual plan budget to the effect of 7.3 million, made up of cost reductions through savings, timing changes to expenditure, and improved operational efficiencies. This then enables a general rates increase of 3% or a 0% real rates increase, a net reduction of 2% in total targeted rates. This budget also includes the Quayside budgeted dividend and the income from Toi Moana Trust that is consistent with the forecasts for year 2 of the LTP. The annual plan budget is compliant with Council's revenue and financing policy and implements the financial strategy for year 2 of the LTP. All prudential benchmarks have been met as per note 4 on page 4 of attachment 2 or page 125 of the agenda. Council also deliberated on the fees and charges statement of proposal at its meeting on the 14th of May. Section 2.1 of the report shows the key decisions made by Council that is incorporated into the final version of the policy included as attachment 1 to the report. Subject to Council's adoption of the annual plan and fees and charges policy, next steps will be for staff to make any minor editorial amendments as directed by Council. Both documents will be made publicly available on Council's website in early July.
Thank you, Kamaran. Do I have any questions or comments for staff?
On page.
We've just had contractors telling some of our gravel contractors that there could be an increase in that charge, and I thought that we were going the other way rather than hammering them. We want to help them rather than hammer them. So that's fine. My slip up on that. Thank you. The other one is on page 59. Aquatic events, special events, at $150 plus actual reasonable cost. Can you just give me a bit of a heads up of what we call special events? Administration fees. What would be an example?
I can answer that, Councillor Campbell.
you.
So this is something that the maritime process, if somebody is wanting to hold an event on one of the lakes around Rotorua, so Wakarama event or a water skiing event or something like that, where they want to close generally a part of the lake to people who would otherwise be able to go there. And so the maritime team need to be able to audit their plans to make sure that they're in accordance with the bylaws and sort of best practice, health and safety.
And would that include river users, jet boaters?
Yeah, if they're wanting to exclude other people from
Okay.
that area.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you very much.
Councillor Scott?
Yes, I've just got a couple of definitional things as well. On page 62, we refer to low, medium and high. And there's other places, and in some of the other places, there's, talk about steps 1s and 2s. Are those well defined beyond here so that somebody knows whether it's a low emission or it's a low example? Because sometimes the difference between 2 steps can be quite dramatic. And just look, for instance, looking at, I'll go back and find it now. Air discharges, and the difference between small and medium is sort of $800. So are those really clear for anyone who may have to pay those charges? Yes, they are.
Through you, Madam Chair, when the consents are granted and lodged and the fees are set, it's clearly communicated at them what category they sit in and why they're defined as low, medium or high. In relation to the dairy ones, it's generally related to the history of compliance inspections and what level of non-compliance we see each year. So they may change depending on the previous inspection, but again, that's communicated to them at the time.
Next question is page 285. The penalty rates start on different days. I'm guessing that's historic. This is for pre-2021 rates. I'm guessing that's historic because of when those particular councils had their things. And the last one was on page 106, which is to do with setting targets for levels of service. And the target is an increase. Is there a specific increase we're looking for, or just one more? That's with regard to Te Amorangi and Te Pai Tawhiti.
So the base is prior year and an increase on that.
Just any increase is fine. Okay. Vague, well, not vague, but it's not really challenging.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Oh, sorry, Tamara.
That's the performance measure set in the LTP. So that's the rationale, and that's to demonstrate progress, but with incremental increases from prior years.
Thank you. I've got questions from Councillor Shirley and then Councillor McMillan, thanks, and Councillor Crosby.
Thank you, Chair. When we met last week, it was last week or the week before, and discussed this, we gave some directions that with the headings where we have Te Reo and English, what we were finding, there were several examples where the Te Reo is actually also in the English heading. So one example was on page 89 where it's been corrected, but we have another two examples, page 86 and page 92, where mahi is in the English, our mahi in your region, in the English version of the heading, which seems hasn't been picked up.
Through you, Chair, just to speak to this generally. So in terms of how we do our te reo throughout the documents and also in the headings as well, we take national direction on this through Te Puna Kokiri. The colour usage on the page is used to delineate between the two headlines for ease of reading, and that's a style that was adopted through the long-term plan as well. So hopefully that addresses the question today.
And I think this is a different issue altogether to the different shadings. This is the actual wording. If you look at page 89, it's been corrected where you had mahi, but on page 86 and page 92, it hasn't been, the mahi is still there in the English version.
I've seen that now. We'll change that to the English in the headline there. Thank you.
And just on that other point, you say on terms of the shading, the emphasis, you take your lead from Te Puna Kokiri.
Yes, we follow national direction on how we incorporate today through all our bilingual
the national
documents.
directions from Te Puna Kokiri.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McMillan and then Councillor Crosby.
I just wanted to congratulate staff on getting to this point and all the work that you've put into it. I'm really, really happy with it, and it has been a bit of a financial reduction, which I know our ratepayers will be happy about, which I didn't know whether that would be possible with me being happy about it. But, you know, in terms of not wanting a drop of level of service, but you've managed to achieve that. So well done. And so I'd be happy to move that we adopt the annual plan.
Crosby?
Happy to second as well. I guess for me, we just need to have certainty as best you can in this world that this is not a one-off and that we are looking to have more sustainable financial discipline, for want of a better word, that we've achieved this year. And thank you to the staff. Often the politicians always want a little bit more, or their pet project, but I think both from a governance point of view and a officer point of view, we've been quite disciplined. Yes, there are some one-offs in there. There'll always be some certain one-offs, but can you give us a degree of certainty that for year 3, at least, that we can maintain this type of revenue required to run the organisation and maintain levels of service moving into year 3 as well. Obviously, hopefully you've looked ahead into year 3. Yes, we have the benefit of at times using, some reserve funds, but not to the large extent we used to actually. So that's my question. Is this sustainable moving into year 3 before we consider the next LTP? And I say that in the operating context of a lot of disruption as well.
So the financial strategy for the LTP was set on being prudent and sustainable. Council has the opportunity to review year 3 in the coming months, post-elections, in relation to what information is available at that point in time affecting Council's operation in the context of the financial strategy, and comparing that to year 3 of the LTP. And that would potentially entail following a similar approach to budget management as was followed for this annual plan, and to see what options are available, if that is Council's intention to follow a similar approach around sustainability, rates, affordability, and measuring that against the parameters set in the financial strategy for year 3 as it relates to rates increases. So the approach allows Council that option. It's just a question of what circumstances prevail at that point in time that will determine which direction Council wants to follow. The annual plan workshops will present that material for Council in relation to options around that, and for Council to direct staff accordingly to progress that process.
Thank you for that. I guess the point of my question, Chair, was that we are not creating a bow wave for a future year, that we're looking hard at the operation of the business and making it financially sustainable within affordability criteria, which was our driver last year. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Winters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is a really good result today. Can I congratulate staff for getting here to go out to our community. It's a 3% rate increase, which is essentially CPI. I think that has to be applauded from everyone. When I look around my TLA counterparts, they're a sort of 8, 9, 10%, but we've been able to hold it to 3%. I think that's a really good result, Kamaran and the team. Thank you for that. We really appreciate it, because we know there's people out there struggle to pay our rates, and this is a good result. So I just want that on the record, Madam Chair. This is a good day for us, and congratulations to everybody involved. I know we've been through the some detailed accounting to get here, and we've had to prune accordingly, but for me, this is a really good result, and I especially like the wording. And I'm going to put my Rotorua hat on, Madam Chair. I especially like the wording in the Rotorua catchment of that new key savings, but we've just pushed it out, and we're ready to roll come August when that report comes in for the OHAL wall. But thanks, Kamaran. Thank the team for us.
Thank you. Before I move those motion, I'm just confirming that you've moved 1 to 5. On pages 38 and 39. And also I'd like to express my thanks to staff. I think the document that we produced is very attractive and reads really well, so thank you. So I'll now put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. So now we'll move to setting our rates. Now this was distributed separately. But it is in diligent as tab 4. So over to you, Kamaran.
So, Councillors, the purpose of this report is to recommend setting of rates, due dates of payment, and authorising penalties in accordance with legislation. The rates set out in this paper are compliant with Council's revenue and financing policy and funding impact statement, and feedback received from a rigorous external review process that's undertaken annually as part of this process. The report also lists the district councils in the region to collect this council's rates assessed for years prior to and including 21-22. Following confirmation of recommendations in this report, staff will provide the necessary information for inclusion in the rates assessment and rates invoices for 25-26. Rates resolutions will then be published on Council's website early July.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Move, Madam Chair.
You, councillor
Second.
Crosby, councillor Thurston. Did you have a question, councillor Winters? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Kamaran. Again, thank you, Madam Chair, Kamaran, for this report and setting the rates for the next 12 months. And can I thank my colleagues for the reduction in the Rotorua Lakes program, going from $160 down to $105 for this year, and then subsequent reductions after that to be put into the general rate. I think that's a good outcome, Madam Chair, and I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you for that.
Well emphasised.
Happy to second if somebody is moving it.
Have a mover and a seconder, I think.
Oh,
So
right.
unless there's any further questions, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you so much and congratulations, staff. We will now break for morning tea and we will aim to be back. Oh, we're right on time. That's amazing. We'll aim to be back at 22:11. Thank you. We'll resume our meeting and welcome Greg Corbett and Dave Grimmer to talk to us about the Regional Pest Management Plan, Operational Plan. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Maureen and councillors. Just introducing Dave Grimmer. Dave's one of our biosecurity officers based out of Tauranga, and Dave's facilitated the development of our operational plan for the coming financial year to support the delivery of the RPMP. We'll table the report as read, and Dave will just touch on a couple of the key points before just being open for questions. Thank you.
Oh yeah, Morena Tato. Via the chair again, as Greg said, just a couple of key points. So obviously we're seeking council approval for the 25-26 operational plan for the regional pest management plan. The key things are noting the revised plan includes updates to the plan pest management programs to meet the 2020-2030 RPMP objectives based on current pest distribution scale in the region, and incorporating the recently adopted changes from the partial RPMP review process recently completed, which include the addition of some new pest species, gold clam, corbicula in the exclusion program, exotic caulerpa also exclusion, the introduced turtles in sustained control category, and a couple of definition changes for the pest pine species to include planted as well as wilding conifers. And for Rule 7 for freshwater requirements, the inclusion of dry and the check, clean and dry protection mechanisms for freshwater pests.
Thank you. Anything else, Greg?
No, just open for questions, Madam Chair.
All right, I just wanted to note, I'll give them to you afterwards. There's a couple of minor typos that I'll give to you afterwards, if that's all right. Do I have any questions for Greg? Thank you, Councillor Winters.
Thank you, Greg. On page 192, you've got the projected revenue from the different parties. So I take it the revenue all comes to us. We're the banker for this program over the next 5 years. Is that correct?
For you, Chair. So we've got revenue from a number of streams. The biggest by far is for the Wallaby program.
Yep.
And we'll be talking a little bit more about that that money coming in the next in the next paper.
Right.
But yes, we act as the bank for both the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty programs.
Sorry, I'm in the wrong one.
Yeah, and it's a similar arrangement with wilding trees if we get any new money through the national program there, where we support some of the operations right on our boundary with Hawke's Bay.
Sorry, I'm on the next agenda item, Madam Chair, sorry. Oh, look, this is the one I want to go back to. My favourite, Andrew's favourite, woolly nightshade. We sent a letter to the CEO of NZTA some time ago. Haven't had a response. As a landowner, they are in breach of their responsibilities for roadside vegetation, weeds and pests. When I drive around the countryside, State Highway 35, woolly nightshade is just out of control. It is appalling, and it is on road reserve. So I want us to do better with NZTA in terms of getting them to do what they're supposed to do. Because an adjacent landowner, if you see any pest weed on a national state highway and nothing's being done, why should I, as a landowner, control what I've got to do on my land? They are in breach. NZTA, I'll say it again, are in breach of their responsibilities in terms of our regional pest management plan. We've got to do better. They've got to do better. And I get angry when I just see it exploding across the countryside. And I could take you and show you some groves, Mr. Chairman. They are not shrubs, this woolly nightshade. They are trees. They are trees of this stuff. Message ends.
Regarding that, I think Councillor McMillan's going to talk about a discussion that was held at Smart Growth yesterday about this very matter, so.
Yeah,
Councillor
yeah.
McMillan.
I was just going to say that NZTA in the Smart Growth meeting, was it yesterday or the day before, did touch on that they are responding to our letter. So it just hasn't come back to us yet, but they definitely noted it because it did come up in that Smart Growth meeting. I know that's just the Western Bay sub-region, but
This is the entire Bay of Plenty. They
yeah,
need to
but
be-
the NZTA are representing the Bay of Plenty and they were in attendance there. I don't know if you had anything to add to that, but that's pretty much what I got from their comment there.
Was made in the context that they are in a period of constrained funding at the moment. And so if it's just non-pest plants that are sort of growing rampant on the roadsides, they're not able to do anything about that, but that they were, if it was raised with them, they'd deal with their pest plants. So it may be something we still might want to progress. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have a social responsibility to conform to our regional pest management plan.
And
End
if
of
they
story.
don't- And if they don't, we can do it and charge them. That's what we do with landowners. If landowners don't do what they're asked to do, then we will put our contractors in, but we will then get the funding back. So what's the difference? And maybe a staff opinion on this would be helpful.
The actual comment made was that they would, yeah, there was a funding constraint, but they would address it when they had a crew in the area. So I'm wondering whether there's an opportunity for our staff to work and find out if there's a roster of when crews are in places. And so we get ahead of it and say, if you're going to be in this area, can you make a point of addressing this? And then if we still have problems, we can go down the stick approach.
Just for you, Chair. Yeah, thanks for those comments, councillors. NZTA have responded to that letter. And there's been a few attempts which haven't been successful yet to meet with their Director of Regional Relationships. So that's at a senior management level. Dave and his team have really good working relationships with their NZTA contractors. So there's two contractors delivering both the east and the west of the region. And they have proven to be quite responsive, but that is on a complaint by complaint basis. Yeah, the overarching funding and how we more proactively deliver to the RPMP is something that we want to discuss with the Director of Regional Relationships. And just clarifying, the NZTA as a Crown entity as a Crown agency are not technically bound by the rules, so we can't enforce those rules on them or claim costs back. But they have agreed to work with us under this MOU, and we're just wanting to really try and put that MOU into action rather than a bit of paper there.
Thank you for that explanation, Councillor.
Cheers, Andrew. Just another one that has come to my attention on this woolly nightshade. I didn't realise we had so many pests in the bloody whole area, to be honest. But anyway, and that's redundant railway lines, particularly from Hawkins Junction to Taniatua. There's a lot of that sort of stuff happening that is just in, like Councillor Winters said, it's going through farmlands and all the rest of it. We put the cane around farmers and the likes, but not to Kiwi Rail. Yeah, I guess it is. Who knows?
Councillor Pontardelson.
Yeah, we also have a problem with, for instance, Tauranga City Council. Down in the reserve alongside Takatimu, which is council land, along there's a lot of woolly nightshade in there as well. And they do cut the odd spot out, but it actually they need to show that they're serious about it, and they're not at the moment. And that's directly with Tauranga City, and I'm sure that we have enforcement availability with them if they don't they've taken parks and reserves back into their in-house, and I think we need to just alert them to that. I'm talking along from the road reserve, the reserve land beside Takatimu from 4th Avenue to 9th Avenue.
For you, Chair, thanks for that, Council. We will follow up with TCC.
Chair, just one other thing, and I say this tongue in cheek, but there's one other pest that I see around all over the place, and that's redundant cones. Can we get somebody to pick those up too while we're at it? One in particular is outside of Fraser Cove, out in the harbour. So I saw that on the weekend. Thank you.
Probably covering up a mangrove. Do I have a mover and a seconder, or have you got a question?
It's a question back to Greg. I see on 142 resolutions 1 and 2. Happy to move those. Does Greg require a number 3, enforcing our frustration with NZTA as a landowner? Do you require more teeth, Greg, from this governance table to tell them to do what they're supposed to do? And I don't know whether.
For you, Chair, I'll leave that for the council to decide whether they want to put another resolution there. As I said, we have written to them. They have agreed to meet, but at the moment we just haven't been able to land a date that works with their senior management. If you decide to do a further resolution for us to chase it up, I'm comfortable with that. But yeah,
Well, I'd like to see a number 3. That with urgency, staff consult with NZTA about the proliferation of weeds and pests along our state highways.
Got that? Okay, well, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Von Dardelson. Thank you. Did you have a question, Councillor Thurston?
I was going to stick my neck out and go into defence of NZTA, but I'm a very brave person, as you know. But Greg, I just commend you for working closely, obviously, with Andrew Corkill, because we have found Andrew to be incredibly cooperative and responsive. And we had a discussion before this meeting started about, dare I say, the Pikatahi Bridge. Well, Andrew's leading NZTA over to Whakatane on Thursday to talk to their council about the Pikatahi Bridge and also the possible solutions that are coming through the pipeline. So incredibly responsive. We heard from the Rotorua Chamber of Commerce. Councillor Winters-White and I suggested in terms of the National Land Transport Plan, the next one, they needed to engage with urgency with NZTA, which they obviously have done, which they announced at their meeting this morning. But Greg, just keep working closely with Andrew Corker. We found him, and I personally have found him incredibly cooperative and very amenable on all issues. So keep going. So that was my trumpeting in support of NZTA, my good colleague. So.
All right, I'll test the meeting to see if everybody moves that additional recommendation together with the others. So I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Greg. And we now have David Bajakovic and Amber Rowe to talk to us on the Wallaby Program Funding Agreement and Contractor Framework Agreements. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair, again. Yeah, yes, Yugoslavian name, so Davor Bjakovic. So Davor is our team leader for the Wallaby program. As we've just briefly discussed in the previous report, this program is a collaborative program between MPI, Department of Conservation, Waikato region, and a number of other stakeholders. The majority of our funding for the program comes through by MPI, and though funding is underpinned by service agreements, and then our working relationship with DOC and Waikato Regional Council is further underpinned by a subsidiary agreement. And of course, both these agreements provide the funding to engage contractors. So this report is seeking council delegation for the Chief Executive to enter into those agreements with MPI and then the subsidiary agreements with DOC and the Waikato Regional Council, and then the ability to approve contracts that feed out to the delivery of work over the next 5 years. Thank you.
Any comments, questions from councillors? Councillor Winters?
Fully supportive of this, Madam Chair. We're seeing good results on the ground now. When I look at the surveillance of cameras and motion detectors that are out and about, and they're not getting any contact, or you, right down to Rangataiki, Darvor, we are slowly pushing these rat bags back to where they should be and eventual eradication. So the outliers we are getting rid of, and that's a successful outcome for this program. It's going to take another 5 years, Darvor, probably longer than that, but we're on top of it. When I see the reports coming in of 7,000 wallabies shot by contractors in the outlying areas, and maybe only ones and twos when they go out and shoot them, and then I see the 1080 that's being dropped in those outlier areas, we'll never know how many we kill with 1080, but at least it's on the ground and it's doing its work. So more than happy, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, to move this resolution. And Darvor, you've got 3 full-time equivalents. Is that just the support staff within Regional Council and Waikato and MPI? Is that what that means?
You, Madam Chair, it basically 3 full-time equivalents within the councils. So I'm full-time, basically contribution from Bay of Plenty Regional Council. Dale Williams is also full-time, and then within the council, when you take the efforts from the procurement team, from communications team, and God, Melissa's input into a program, and how much basically our comms team managed to put program out there and raise the awareness of the wallaby issues, that constitutes that 3 full-time equivalents on top of our LTP financial contribution.
Yeah, and then you've got your contractors on top of that.
Yes, that's right. And Waikato pretty much 1.5, almost 2 full-time equivalents as well. And DOC a bit less in modern days, unfortunately. They're still trying to fight off their battles.
Do I have a seconder? Oh, thank you, Councillor Thurston. I'll recognise you. I'll put that motion unless there's further comments. No, if not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, councillors.
Now we have our paper 10.6 on Harbour Master Patrol Recruitment Agency. So this is you, Ruben, and also John Peters. Welcome, John.
Marina, good. Chair, happy to take any questions.
I have a question. It's a 3-year contract for 3 years. I just want to be absolutely clear. The people being engaged will be casual workers, engaged, managed and paid by the recruitment company. Is that the way it's going to work?
That is correct, Chair.
So who's the PCBU? If anything happens, who is the responsible party?
In this case, it would be the recruitment agent, which is one of the reasons why we started this process. But I would defer to legal if we have somebody here to confirm that.
Have we got a legal person? Thank you.
Kia ora, councillors. Obviously health and safety obligations are not black and white. They don't operate in a black and white context. So our Maritime and Harbour Master team takes health and safety very seriously. There's obviously a full induction, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of inducting these patrols before they go out on the boats. We would need to confirm
but it's likely I would assume we would have overlapping duties with the recruitment agency in terms of our obligations.
Because they are under, the training comes from our staff, does it not? Just another question. How many do you expect to have recruited each year?
Approximately, Chair, I'd say about 30 skippers and crew. It may go up or down depending on availability sometimes, which is an issue.
Thank you. And over and above the value of the contract, there's what additional costs to council other than the operational costs of our own staff and the provision of training and vessels for people employed? Is there any other costs over and above this?
The training is also covered with it of the recruited staff will be within this amount of money. Apart from that, just the cost of the boats and our own team.
And thank you. Any further questions? No?
Chair, just a question to John. This morning you saw a presentation from the Chamber of Commerce of Rotorua, and Councillor Winters picked up an anomaly in one of their photographs. Jet skier with no observer on board. And I use Rotomar a lot. I see that regularly every year, not quite so much last year, but up until the flooding started, and it's starting to come back, I must say. Is our contractors, are they taking fire from a lot of the abusers of these things? Are they? And what I want to know is who follows up on that? Because I've heard contractors being abused by particularly jet skiers, and I'm not just picking on jet skiers because they're not all jet skiers, but the ones that are there beating up and down. And I saw even as late as Sunday up along the waterfront in Rotomar. And that sort of concerns me because there's fishermen and that they're working there along there now, but they, and they were high-speed craft going along Rotomar Beach.
Chair, so as part of our training, we're very strong on the view that the moment they come across an aggressive person or that a situation which may go wrong, they are supposed to withdraw. As far as possible, we try and get the details of the person so we could follow up later through a phone call and even with the police, because we've had a few instances over my time here with gangs. But that's our very strict direction is do not engage, just go away. We have boats out as much as possible, and generally we have very few of these incidents, if at all.
I'm sort of concerned a little bit about that because if I see it, I know our patrol people must see it, and I totally understand why they won't want to confront some of these people because they're quite aggressive. But yeah, as long as it's being followed up. And the other one that really concerns me is people using the Rotomar ramp at the lagoon or at the toilet block bottom of the road for flushing their boats after they've been fishing, and that has been an issue in the past too. So they flush they'll back in, get a belly full of water, and drive up and down, and then drive off down the road. So that has happened in the past. So I'm just letting you know that that's going on too. But particularly the jet skis and I've got to be a bit careful here because I've got a pretty fast boat too. But at least you've got to be sensible about it. You've got to have people on board that are observing skiers and the likes and get away from the main crowd. And I'm just wondering whether having ski lanes on the main beach is a wise thing. I don't know. Just having a whole lot of ski boats sitting there, not being used, and then all of a sudden they do get used. Any lake area around the lakes?
Thanks, Chair. First of all, the issue of following up, as I said, if we can get the details, we follow up later. Ski lanes are a very sensitive issue. Taking away a ski lane is much above my pay grade, I think, at this point. But yes, we also have body cams at all times, which really helps us and keeps our team safe. in view of health and safety obligations, that's one of the key issues. Thank you, Chair.
Millen.
Oh, thanks, John. I'm happy to move. I just had a one quick question about our summer internships. I know in the past, I'm not sure about this coming summer. I know one of the roles is to go out on the surveillance patrol. So in these procurement contracts, or the actual contracts for the casual employees, do they have a built-in program sort of overseeing the program of the interns so that they get a good experience, and that because it's kind of like us responsible for that, but an external agency recruiting the role that oversees that?
Chair, so Councillor, that this harbour patrols are different to the student program. The student program is funded by Maritime New Zealand, not by council. So those students which we recruit, we train them and we look after them, and they are different from this.
Okay, so they don't have any these ones don't have any responsibility of those interns.
That's
at
purely
all.
us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, happy to move. Yep.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Winters?
How we will select a supplier on page 215, mandatory requirements, public liability insurance, they will require. What sort of level are we talking about?
Through you, Chair. So I can't recall off the top of my head what our standard is, but for all contractors, generally, we do require them to hold public liability insurance, and this would definitely be a situation where we require it, given the nature of work being undertaken.
Yep.
And through a recruitment agency of that kind, we would expect them to hold that.
Have a number?
Don't have the paper in front of me, apologies, but we do have standard levels. Linda will be able to answer that one.
Okay.
Order, councillors, through the chair, our standard requirement is 10 million public liability.
Thank you very much. Are you happy to second,
Yep.
Councillor Winters? Then I'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, item 10.7, membership appointments to the Public Transport Committee and the Tauranga and Western Bay of Plenty Transport Committee. So we've got Steve Groom and Claudia Cameron. Welcome.
Morena, councillors. So this is a procedural matter. So with Councillor Thompson's resignation, there are vacancies on the Public Transport Committee and the Tauranga Western Bay Transport Committee. There's one meeting for each of those committees left in the triennium. And if the current alternate for the Tauranga Western Bay Transport Committee is elected, then you'll also need to appoint, or not need, but have the opportunity to appoint an alternate. That's it from me.
I'm happy to move resolutions 1 to 4, and in 3 appoints Councillor Scott as the member for the Public Transport Committee, and in 4 appoints Councillor Scott for the Tauranga and Western Bay Transport Committee. That means 5 is no longer required, and this has been discussed in consultation with all parties.
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. Any further comment? No, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you.
We've got to get a 62% up.
How mighty pucky pucky.
Our next item is with reference to the Local Government New Zealand AGM and the remits for consideration. So Steve, you're taking this one. Thank you.
Yes, so this is a process that will probably feel familiar to members. So the AGM's been held in July. Since the production of this paper, Councillor Von Dadelson is also attending. Just for your notes. Staff recommendations on the 4 remits at the AGM that relate to the business of a regional council are included as Appendix 2. And the purpose of this is to discuss and give guidance to our voting members at the AGM. The previous convention from previous years has been that you provide guidance, but the members who are voting on the day have some latitude to take account of information they receive on the day.
Move the recommendations, Madam Chair.
Thank you, councillor Thurston.
Second.
Seconded by councillor Crosby. So looks like any comments? No? Then we'll put that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Very. So we now move to item 10.9, the Lake Tarawera Sewage Scheme loan offer terms, and I think we have Matt here. So we'll just pass over to you, Matt. Thank you. And Ruben, if necessary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, yeah, nothing to add to the report, but I do understand some further information has been received from Rotorua Lakes Council, which Ruben would like to discuss.
Thanks, Matt, and through you, Madam Chair. As councillors know, there are ongoing negotiations with both Rotorua Lakes Council and the Crown. It would be good to update council on those negotiations and seek your direction. Enable that to happen, I'm going to suggest that we go into public excluded for the reason that that's necessary to enable council to carry on without prejudice or disadvantage those negotiations in relation to Tarawera wastewater.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Seconded by councillor Winters. So we'll move into confidential. Thank